All right, I'm back for part three, and I'm going to be dealing with Dan. It says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent, by the way, an adder in a pack, and bited the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for that salvation. So it says that Dan shall judge his people. You can read about that in the book of Judges. When Dan, or the tribe of Dan, started judging the 12 tribes, all the rest of the tribes of Israel. Because contrary to popular belief, the majority of these camps, if not all of these camps, they don't have Dan on their sign. But you do have a small few of them who are running around teaching that the Danites are the Mongoloids' Hierarchs and the Mongoloids' Caribs. But I'm going to prove to you on how that's a lie. So over here it says that Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent, by the way, and an adder in a pack that bited the horse's heel. I'm going to the book of Judges, the 13th chapter. I'm going to give you a perfect example in regards of the horse's heel and the serpent. And dealing with Samson. So I'm going to start off with, let's see, Judges chapter 13, verse 1. And it reads, and the children of Israel did evil again. I'm going to start at verse 1. In the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And it was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of who? Of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but now shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of who? Of the Philistines. Now I'm going to see if I can jump down to, let's see. Yeah, verse 24 and verse 25. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and Yahweh blessed him. And the spirit of Yahweh began to move with him. And it came up in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. So now, let's see. I'm going to go to Judges 15, 14, and 16. Here's what it says over here in Genesis 49 chapter. And it says that Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. In Genesis 49 chapter, it says that Dan shall be a serpent, by the way, an adder in the pack that bited the horse's heel. I want to show you on how it represents on how Samson pretty much went about his way to tear down the Philistines and the rest of the enemies of Israel. That's what it says over here in regards on how he bited the horse's heel. So I'm going to go in the book of Judges, chapter 15, verse 14. And it says, and when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted again against him, and the spirit of Yahweh came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew what? Thousands of men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it says over here in Genesis the 49th chapter that what? That body the horse's heel. So that represented on how Samson came out of this way and pretty much slaughtered enemies of Israel at that time, which were the Philistines. It don't got anything to do with no Mongoloid Arawaks or no Mongoloid Caribs. And the indigenous people of those areas were all Negroes. The real Caribs and the real Arawaks were all black. So I'm going to go back again. Genesis 49 chapter. It says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder and the pat that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thou salvation. So now I'm going to be dealing with the serpent. I'm going to the book of Judges 18. I'm going to show you what Dan did. Because they were set up to judge over Israel righteously. But towards the end, they did something that was horrific. I'm going to the book of Judges 18. I'm going to get straight to the point. Well, I'm going to start at verse 22. And it says, and when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said unto Micah, What ailed thee, that thou comest into such a company? And he said, Ye have taken away my gods, which I made, and the priests are gone away. And what I have done, and what have I more? And what is this that ye said unto me, What aileth thee? Verse 25, and the children of Dan said unto him, Let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows upon thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives of thy household. And the children of Dan went out their way. When Micah saw that they were too strong with him, he turned and went back unto his house. Verse 27, and when he took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came unto Laish, unto the people that were quiet and secure, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. Verse 28, and it says, and it was no deliverer, because it was from Zidon, and they had no business with any man, and it was in an alley that lay by Beth Herab. And they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, who was born unto Israel. Habite, the name of the city was Laish at first. And the children of Dan did what? And it says, and the children of Dan set up graven image. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until this day, the captivity of the land. And they set him up Micah's graven image, which he made in all the times that the house of God was in Shiloh. So being the fact that Dan was pretty much set up or instituted to be judges over the 12 tribes of Israel, you can clearly see that in the beginning Samson pretty much went and fought against our enemies. Towards the end, the tribe of Dan started going off. They started worshiping and setting up all these different idols and engraven images. So that's what the serpent pretty much goes into, that you read about in Genesis the 49th chapter. It don't got anything to do with no Mongoloid Arawaks or Carib Indians. I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy 32, 33 and 22. Deuteronomy 33 and 22, and it says, and Dan, he said, Dan is a lion's whelp, he shall leap from Bashan. And like I said, I already gave you the example in regards to that in Judges 13th chapter in regards of Samson. So I'm going to go back to Genesis the 49th chapter. I'm going to go with the tribe of Gad. And it says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at last. So now all these camps till this day are teaching that Gad represents the Mongolian, Eurasian, Native American Indians. And they're saying that Genesis 49 and 19 in regards of Gad is dealing with the United States Cavalry. And when the United States Cavalry came over here and invaded the quote-unquote so-called Native American Indians. There's no precepts. Being the fact that all these camps are teaching that white people are Edomites, there is no precepts that can substantiate or validate that Edomites, that it was prophesied that Edomites would be invading the land of Gad in the latter days. That is a lie. Lie, lie. So I'm going to deal with the troop. I'm going to go in the book of Judges, the 10th chapter. Yeah, everything's going to be proven through precepts. Let's see. Judges chapter 10, verse 6. And it says, And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh, and served Baal and Asherah, and the god of Syria, and the gods of Zidon, and the gods of Moab, and the gods of what? Of who are the children of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook Yahweh, and served him, and served not him. Verse 7, And the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of who are the Philistines, and into the hands of the children of Ammon. Philistines and Ammon. In that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel 18 years. And all the children of Israel that were on the other side of Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is Gilead. Moreover, the children of Ammon passed over the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. No, it says, moreover, the children of Ammon passed over Jordan to fight also against Judah and against Benjamin and against the house of Ephraim. But that's it right there. I'm going to go back to Genesis 49. Yeah, Gad, a troop shall overcome him. The troop was dealing with the Philistines and the Ammonites that we read about in the book of Judges, the 10th chapter. So now I'm going to go to the book of Jeremiah 49, verses 1 and 2. All right, this is Jeremiah 49 and 1. And it says, Concerning the Ammonites, thus say Yahweh, had Israel no sons? Had he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad? Just like we read in Judges the 10th chapter. And his people dwell in his cities. Therefore, behold, the days come, said Yahweh, that it will cause an alarm of war be heard in Rabbah of who of the Ammonites. And it shall be desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burnt with fire. And then shall Israel be heir unto them. Of Rabbah, gird your sackcloth, lament, and run to and fro by the edge, for the king shall go into captivity, and the priest and his princess together. So the troop spoken about in Genesis the 49th chapter was dealing with the Philistines and the Ammonites. Period, point blank. Hold on, let me see if I go in the book of Numbers. Let's see. Numbers 32 and 29. It had absolutely nothing to do with the United States Cavalry. No, hold on. I'm going to book of Judges. It says that Gad was going to overcome at last. So I'm going to book of Judges. Judges chapter 11, verse 32. Then it shall be that whosoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, then I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be Yahweh's, and I will offer it up to a burnt offering. So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against who? Them. And Yahweh delivered them into his hands. And he smote them for Hawor, even till thou came to Minit, even 20 cities unto the plain of the vineyard, with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and dances, and she was his only child. Besides her, he had neither son nor daughter. So at the end, the Creator, the Most High, utilized Jephthah to deliver them up out of captivity, out of the hands of the Ammonites and the Philistines. So I'm going to go in the book of Deuteronomy 33 and 20. When you link up all the precepts in regards to Genesis, the 49th chapter, they don't have anything to do with the times that we currently live in. So I'm going to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 22. And it says, and Dan, no, not 32, 22, 33, verse 20. And it says, and of Gad, he said, blessed be that enlarged Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, tear the arm with the crown of his head. So they're trying to say that the lion also represents the Mongoloid Native American Indians. So I'm going to book of First Chronicles. And I'm going to show that that's off. But that was a characteristic that was labeled upon the tribe of Gad back in the ancient time. And you're going to prove it with the precepts. Y'all want to run around and accept all these different animals into your congregation and your camps by labeling them as Israel. You're trying to steal our birthright, our culture, and our nationality. It says 1 Chronicles 12:8, and it says, and of the Gadites would separate themselves unto David, unto the hold, to the wilderness, men of what? Of might, and men of war, fit for the battle, that can handle shield and buckler, whose faces were what? Were like the faces of lions, just like we read in Deuteronomy the 33rd chapter, Deuteronomy 33 and 20, and were swift as the roes upon the mountain. So that's a cold cut. That's a cold cut. The Mongoloids, pale-faced Indians, they're not Israelites, and they're not even indigenous of North America. The real North American Indians are the so-called Negroes. When you check out all the historical facts. So I'm gonna go to the next tribe. I already did Asher yesterday, so now I'm gonna jump down to let's see, Naphtali. All right, so it says Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. So they say that Naphtali represents the Mongoloids from Argentina to Chile. But I'm going to prove to y'all on how it's a lie. I'm going to book of Judges. for. I'm going to start at verse 6. And it says, and she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh where? Naphtali. So Barak was from the tribe of Naphtali. And I'm going to show you how that all ties in with Barak. And it says, and he said unto him, had not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, go and draw toward Tabor, and take and redeem 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali, of the children of who? And Zebulun. Verse 7, and I will draw unto thee to the river of Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and a multitude, and I will deliver him unto thine hand. And it says that Naphtali was a hind let loose, right? I'm going to finish continuing. And Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. Verse 9. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For Yahweh shall sell Sisera into the hand of the woman. And Deborah rose and went into Barak Kadesh. Verse 10. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had served himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanaim, which is Kadesh. And they showed Sisera, that was Barak, son of Abinoam, was gone up to the Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, and 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him, from Hasorah to the Gentiles under the king of Kishon, and the brought them to Barak up, for this is the day which Yahweh had delivered Sisera unto their hand. Is not Yahweh gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount of Tabor, and 10,000 men, just like we read a couple of verses above, after him. And Yahweh discomfited what? Sisera, and all of his chariots, and all of his hosts, with the hedge of the sword before Barak. So Sisera let it up of his chariot, and fled away on his field. But Barak pursued after what? The chariots, and after the host of Hasorah, and the host of the Gentiles. And all those of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and it was no man but left. So once Barak pursued and went after the chariots, he slaughtered him with the sword like a hind let loose, like we just read in regards of the tribe of Naphtali in Genesis, the 49th chapter. So when we read about Naphtali being a hind let loose, that was going into Barak, tearing down our enemies during that time in the book of Judges, the 4th chapter. It had absolutely nothing to do with no filthy, disgusting ass heathens from Argentina to Chile who be wearing and putting metal plates in their lips. It had absolutely nothing to do with that. So I'm going to go in the book of Deuteronomy 33 and 23. And again, the message that's being delivered is only for you so-called Negroes who are scattered throughout North, South, Central America, West Africa, and other parts around the globe. Just to be a little bit more specific, it's only for the elect. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 23. And it says, and of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfy favor and full with the blessings of the Lord. Possess thou the west and the south, the west and the south. So they're trying to say that the west and the south represents what? Argentina to Chile. And then you also got GOCC, another coon Israelite camp, who be accepting everybody, not just Hispanics and Native American Indians. They be accepting Hispanics, Native American Indians, Caucasoid devils. They be accepting damn near all non-Israelites in their congregation. They're also saying that it's being in reference of the Samoans. Let me go to the book of Judges, the 19th chapter. Judges 19 and 13. No, that's the book of Joshua. I'm looking for the book of Judges. Hold on. All right, Judges 19 and 13. And it says, "We will not turn aside hither unto the city of a stranger that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over Gibeah." And he said unto his servant, "Come, and let's draw near to one of these places, to lodge all night, Gibeah and Ramah." And he passed on and went their way, and went down upon them. And when they were, no, hold on. No, it was Joshua. It was Joshua. All right, Joshua 19 and 13. And it says, "And turn from Sabbath eastward upon the uprising unto the border of Tabor, and then goeth out to Deborah, and goeth to Japhia, and from thence passed on along on the east of Githa, Thepher, Itakazin, and goeth to Ramon Theor, near, in the border of Jithael, and Cathal, and Nathal, and Shion, and Adlah, and Bethlehem, 12 cities and the villages. These are the inheritance of the children of Zebulun, according to the families of the villages, all four that came out of Issachar from the families, and the borders toward Jeshurun and towards Sheshalim." Now I'm going to jump down. Let's see, verse 32. "And this is the inheritance of the children of Asher, according to their families, the cities of their villages. The sixth lot came out of the children of what? Of Naphtali. Even of the children of Naphtali, according to their families. And their coast was from Heleph, from Halam, Zanaim, and Hadami, and Zekib, and Janel, unto Lakum, and the outgoing thereof of Jordan. And then the coast turned westward." The coastline of Naphtali turned westward, just like it said in the book of Deuteronomy, "Possessed thou the west, Hazon Tabor, and goeth out thence to Hukut, and reach to where Zebulun," just like we read in the previous chapter, like around verse 13 and verse 20, in regards of Zebulun. On the south side, remember it says in Deuteronomy 33rd chapter, "Possess the west and the south, and reach to Asher on the west side, into Judah upon Jordan towards the sunrise." So when you read Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, Deuteronomy 33 and 23, when it says "possess thou the west and the south," that was dealing with the ancient land of Naphtali. It had absolutely nothing to do with no Mongoloids from Argentina to Chile, or some heathen Samoans over there in the Pacific Isle. As you can see, the land of Naphtali was also located right next to the land of Zebulun, just like I also read in the previous couple of other verses. So as you can see, when you read about Naphtali was dealing with Barak, and it was also dealing with the ancient land of Naphtali. So with that, I'm going to come back for hopefully the last part, which is going to be dealing with Joseph and Benjamin. Shalom.